Today I'm going to be showing you how blacksmithing works in Kingdom Come Deliverance II. This is basically a preview tips and tricks video. So I'm going to explain how all the mechanics work and how you get the materials, the whole crafting process essentially, but also other things like the perks and laundry, because that's also affected by the crafting skill too. And there's been some changes to the Grindstone as well that I want to go over in this video. But it's such a deep system now that Warhorse has developed, and there's a lot of little things that I want to point out to you guys in this video. So let's get started. The earliest blacksmith you will find is in Tachov, just here on the map. And if we go ahead and zoom in, you can see there is a smithy. The first thing we're going to need to do is actually talk to a blacksmith. Now, if you go to the books section, a lot of blacksmiths and crafters are going to sell you different sketches of different weapons. Now, carpenters sell this, blacksmiths sell this. You can also find hidden ones in the environment because there's some unique things that you can craft later in the story, which I'll talk more about later because it requires a certain perk. And Henry is able to craft the best weapons in the game. So crafting is something you should really level up in Kingdom Come Deliverance II. But all of these recipes require different materials. Blacksmith will also sell materials, and most of these early materials are very cheap to acquire. And it gives you the lore and history about what each metal was used for. So we've also got parts of the sword. So there's an ordinary sword guard and a reinforced one. There's the sword pommel. And then you have unique items like this one, which allows you to forge unique weapons. Some of these are quest items as well. But some of the weapons, before you can forge them, you have to go around in the environment. There's like secret materials. And then once you've gathered them all together and even got the recipe as well, you can then craft that weapon. So it's pretty cool, like little mini game as well to like get the ultimate weapons in the game. Can't actually go out and mine any of these materials, but you'll find them in chests, even in bird nests sometimes. They'll just pop up and you can take them. You can even buy them from some shops. Obviously, like Kuttenberg has a mine near it. So to actually start blacksmithing, you obviously have your grinding stone here, which is a different thing, but the blacksmithing itself starts here at the anvil. You can just go ahead and start, and then you get to choose a recipe. Like we want to craft an axe, a horseshoe, a longsword, or sword. And you can see at the bottom there it says 1 out of 19 recipes, so that's how many recipes are actually in the game. For swords, there's 12 longswords, there's 12 axes, 7 random objects like farmer horseshoes, which you can obviously sell or put on your horse. And each recipe has a bunch of different material requirements. This is just a hunting sword, so you only need steel, scrap metal, and fastening materials. And you can also see its damage stats on the left-hand side there. Let's say we want to craft a hunting sword. I'm going to pull it out there, and it's always like the shape of the object that you're actually going to be crafting. And one thing you'll notice, you can move the sword back and forward. And now if we use the bellows, that's going to start heating up the metal. And you basically have to make sure it's like evenly heated. So you can see there's like an animation for as it starts to get hotter. And we want to drag it back through the flames so it's evenly heated. And he'll actually comment if it's too hot like that. And then we can just go ahead and go to the anvil. You see it's actually sparking, so it's way too hot. There's little signs like that that tell you how it's going. And now when we get to the anvil, you can see you can move the sword up and down. And then if you hold down the right trigger, you'll start hammering it. So essentially, you want to hammer the weapon so it's evenly smith. You want to like kind of slowly move your hammer down the blade. And as you're doing it, you know it's going to be even. If you just randomly tap it, then you're going to have an issue later because it's going to be unevenly smith. Then you can turn it over and do the same thing on the other side, back the other way. And Henry will comment on like how you're doing. And also, if you kind of get like a rhythm to your blacksmithing, he'll start to whistle. And then we can go back again, turn it over, go back to the bottom bit and just start hammering this section too. Now, one thing you can do is if you're like hammering in the same spot, he'll like comment, oh, you've got to move it. And just like there, you heard there's a sound effect for if you hit the wrong spot, either missing the weapon. You should have like a nice ring and then the sparks go flying. So it's very visual to sort of tell you that you're doing the right thing while smithing. But you can see the top there is actually cooling down. So we're going to want to put it back in the forge suit. You can never like craft a weapon just in one go. So it kind of requires you to go back and forth, heating it up, usually a couple of times. So we hold down right trigger to use the bellows, and you can see that it's already going to start heating up in the fire here. And you're going to want to get it to a nice sort of straw white color. Go back to the anvil. and then we can start hammering it again. And after hammering it for some time, you can see it starts to look a lot more sword-like. And you can see some of these sort of areas down here clearly need more hammering than others. And the sparks are indicating that because there's brighter sparks around this area. But this area doesn't need hammering. Maybe on the other side, still no hammering. So that area is kind of done. But the middle part of the sword, we seem to have neglected. So we know we got to hammer that a bit more. And then it's looking done, so we can just go ahead and quench it in fire. He's going to go heat it up. This is automatic, does it for you. Heat it up in the forge, and then he'll be able to quench it in the water. So it's basically just like alchemy. He'll quench it in the fire. We'll then get a rating for how we performed and what we could have done better, which is pretty awesome because it's kind of like a mini game, and everything you forge is slightly different. So we got a level 3 quality hunting sword. There is actually a quality level beyond that, which is like Henry forged, and you can get some unique items in the game that you can craft that have even better stats. And the crafted weapons in general, I would say, are the best in the game. There's a few exceptions, obviously. And if you didn't know, there's now quality tiers in Kingdom Come Deliverance II. So everything you find in the environment, armor, weapons, and so on, has a different quality tier. The better the quality tier, the more damage it's going to do. The weapon requirement stats that you need to have, like strength and agility levels to use that weapon, are still going to be the same no matter the quality tier. This hunting sword is worth 38.6 gold. Funnily enough, it's only 63 condition, which means we actually do need to sharpen it on the grindstone. And if you didn't know, there's a few like new little things about the grindstone. So obviously you can tilt the blade back and forth like so, and then you can start spinning the wheel. And the faster you spin it, the faster it's gonna get sharper. The next thing you'll notice is that there's yellow sparks, but if I tilt the blade, we actually get white sparks just there. You can sometimes see it. And those white sparks are basically the best level of sharpening. And you just want to run the blade back and forth as you go, trying to keep it at the right angle to get those white sparks to come out. And then Henry will say that's more like it, which means it's as sharp as it can be. But one thing you can do if you tilt the blade too far is you see there's like this sort of dark black smoke. That's actually ruining your weapon. You need to go tilt it back and then start doing it properly like this. And it's basically just about getting the sweet spot.
Sharp as a razor.
And he'll always comment to say it's sharp enough when you're done. And now we can see it's 100 in its durability. It does the max amount of damage that this tier 3 weapon can do. And it's also, you know, its value's increased because we've sharpened it and it's at 100% condition. So at this point, you can then go to the shop and you can say, okay, I want to go ahead and sell this sword. It's worth 17 gold. And we can haggle on the price as well. So I'm going to say, okay, I want 20 gold for this.
We're getting close.
And he's like, okay, I'll give you 18.5. He's also slightly annoyed, so we're going to go for 19 gold. And he's convinced with this.
Pleasure doing business. Take care.
Now, the more he likes you, the better prices he'll give you. Obviously, if you keep selling him swords, though, the prices are going to get worse and worse. So it's better to smith the sword, then go somewhere else that doesn't have many swords, and you can sell them there for more gold. Now, the other thing I want to show you is crafting a horseshoe, because this is actually the hardest thing to craft, in my opinion. So, you know, again, you pick up the horseshoe. They've got a separate animation for that. You have this wonky-ass bit of scrap metal. But the horseshoe is obviously only one shape, so to heat it up in the forge, it's much easier. If you do so, you can actually press X to also inspect it. And now this is why horseshoes are so hard. So as you can see, you've got to move your hammer around, and you've got to line it up with the horseshoe like so, and then hit it so the sparks come out. Like so. And then Henry will start whistling if you... But you kind of have to follow the horseshoe around. So you have to kind of like line up where your hammer's going to hit and then hit it. And you've also obviously got to turn it round as well. But I missed it there because I was trying to move it while in the air. And you have a different tune based on how you're hammering it too, which is pretty cool. But obviously use up a lot of stamina depending on how you're hammering it. And then he'll tell you when it's done and go ahead and quench that to finish it off. So just heat it up one more time. And he'll tell you when the item's actually done. And you can just go ahead and quench it. Doesn't look too bad, does it? It looks like the shape of a horseshoe. And it's worth 15 groschen. Now, even though the horseshoe is worth 15 groschen, you can't sell it for that. Because obviously when you actually go to the blacksmith and shop with him, it's only worth 33% of that. You can't actually sell items for 100% of their value. But if you want to earn reputation, you can actually give them a discount, and then they'll like you even more and give you bigger discounts if you're buying like an expensive sword from their shop.
I hope you'll be satisfied.
Here we got double reputation there. Now, another thing that's really important to know is that in battle, your equipments degrade and lose durability. If you don't repair them and let their durability drop to 0, you can actually then reduce that equipment's quality permanently. So you actually want to also upkeep all of your equipment, swords, armor, and so on, by constantly repairing it with either a tailor's kit for clothing, cobblers for the shoes, or the armorer's kit for your armor set. If I want to use my tailor's kit, for example, to repair this item back to 100, you can see that currently my tailor's kit is at 39 condition. Now, if I repair one of my items back up to 100%, it's going to go down again. So now I only have 28 condition. When that reaches 0, that tailor's kit has run out and I then need to buy a new one to carry on repairing my items. But obviously now my Crusader's Waffenruck is fully repaired and gives better resistances. It's also worth more gold. Now, some of the rarer items you find, like the Italian Holberg, require better craftsmanship skill to actually repair. So you won't be able to repair everything unless you level up your crafting skill. And as you level up your crafting skill, you're going to become more efficient at blacksmithing, sharpening your weapons, and maintaining and repairing your equipment. But also, you even get better in laundry as well. So if you look on the map, you can see just down here, there's actually a laundry area. And the same if you go to like most towns like Troskowitz over here on the map, there's a big lake. And that's the laundry area you can go to. Now, normally in most games, you'll have this sort of washing area here where you can wash yourself. And that basically just cleans your body, so you won't smell. And if any of your armor was covered in blood, you'll wash that blood off it. However, as you can see, there's a little mud icon next to some of my armor still, which means they're muddy and dirty and we actually need to clean them properly. Once you find one of these laundry areas, they always have like this little dock section at, and then if you walk over to them, you'll then be able to wash yourself or launder your clothes. So if you actually want to launder your clothes, you're going to see, but you can see this ring that I'm wearing right now, that's covered in mud. And so is the hunter's belt and hunter's pouch. So we're going to want to confirm that we want to clean those. And all your armor will now look much shinier and you'll remove that sort of muddy debuff. So people will just treat you better in conversations. You'll look a bit cleaner. Now, if you're running around the forest or sneaking around in the muddy sort of swampy areas, or running through bushes, digging up graves, anything that's going to get you muddy. Now, soap can also be crafted or you can buy it. It's usually even sitting near most laundry areas and it will respawn after a while. And in the vitality skill tree, there's some other cool perks that apply to this, like washing in a tub or pier or taking a bath at a bathhouse will cure 10 points of your health. Plus, if you go to bed clean, you'll heal 25% faster. Or well-dressed stops you getting dirty 20% faster. But this is also another one of the reasons that now you can instantly swap to different armor sets. It's actually a good idea to have an armor set to swap to if you're doing something where you're going to get dirty, like robbing a grave. One of the cooler things that Warhorse has added to the game is some of the new crafting perks. There's actually tons of perks that have been added. Any weapons you forge will have excellent properties, will take damage 20% slower. And also, yes, you can now forge lockpicks. And this perk is also really cool because it boosts your thievery skill by 3 points when you're picking locks, because you're a locksmith and you know how they work. If you get your gear repaired by a craftsman, you'll gain a little experience in craftsmanship. Totally legit. Stolen weapons and armor and clothing in your inventory will lose their stolen status 20% faster. Repairs by craftsmen will be 20% cheaper for you. Armor and clothing that you repair yourself with the armorer kit will make less noise when worn. The effect lasts until the item quality level drops. Or razor sharp. If you sharpen a weapon to 98% or more on the grindstone, it will deal 10% more damage. The effect lasts until that below 75%. 7 league boots. If you want to wear boots repaired by yourself, sprinting will cost you 25% less stamina, so you can run longer and further. Your gear will be damaged 10% slower, so you don't have to repair it as often. There's also 7 league boots too. If you put on self-repaired boots, the sprint will cost you 50% less now. Martin's secrets. Now that you're able to forge weapons of the 4th, i.e. highest quality, so there's actually 4 quality tiers, but Henry's quality is the highest one. You can only get it from crafting. Weapons of this quality cannot be obtained by any other way other than forging them yourself. and their strength and effectiveness is unmatched. So those are essentially the best weapons in the game that you can craft. Through Maintenance 2, your gear takes 20% less damage now. And Boa. Bows and crossbows that you repair yourself with Boa's kit are 10% more powerful. Thus, your shots will fly further and have better penetration. But that was only blacksmithing. So if you want to learn about the alchemy crafting skill or some of the other new features in Kingdom Come Deliverance, check out the Kingdom Come playlist over here. I've also done a complete overview video on just what the game's like and my first impressions of it.